Parenting skills for the real world, freedom and independence category. Freedom and independence is going to be, for my personal situation and my needs, my highest one. I would put myself off the charts when I was in my 20s, and now I'm actually where you can pick a number on the charts when we go to the worksheets to complete this process. So some of the things that you can place under freedom and independence, and again, this is unique to each individual. You might see some other things that you would like to add in here, and I'm always happy to hear feedback from this. So resistance to being told what to do, desire to live your life in your own way, freedom to pursue different interests and encouragement from partner or close relationships to do so, choices, creativity, independence, flexibility, options, open-minded. Now, I mentioned that freedom and independence is a need that I score really high on when I evaluate myself. And that's also why I gravitated towards choice theory, because working with children with special needs that had severe behaviors, I worked with a lot of people in my past that the way that they worked with the kids, they had a high need for control that I could see. And that job really is a place where you'll see two sorts of teachers. You'll see the teachers who gravitate towards like the structure and routine fulfills their need for control and power. And then you can also see the individuals similar to me who have a high need for freedom and independence and understand the inappropriate behaviors a child is displaying when their freedom and independence is being infringed upon by teachers and other grown-ups that are trying to tell you what to do. So, needless to say, one of the reasons why that I work so well with the children that I do, I don't do this because I'm an angel that never has any negative situations or negative emotions. I know what it's like to be resistant to being told what to do and to live my life my own way and have choices and to be able to be creative and have a level of independence that doesn't have a lot of people telling me all the time what to do. And that does, in order for me to have the degree of freedom and independence I need, it takes a lot of trust from the people around me in my life for me to fulfill this need. And I have to be very aware of that. So you could say choices, but choices could look different for a lot of different people. Creativity, that could be someone who likes to redecorate their house, while another person likes to be in their garage and do paintings and art sculptures. And open-minded, that's open-minded for myself and for others. So when I'm working with children, one of the things I'll see with parents, I'll say, just listening and telling the kid, you know what, that does stink, or even telling them their emotion is valid. I'll see resistance from parents because they won't be open-minded to the fact that their child's emotion is valid. If a parent tells a child what to do and a child has what we perceive as a negative reaction to that, such as a no, or I don't wanna, I hate you, which is totally understandable to hear that as a parent and to feel, what right do you have as a child to be saying those things? And the more we go towards the direction of not just trying to control them into liking our decisions, which go to the lecture on boundaries, and that will go into more detail, or thicker skin lecture in the breakout sessions, that will go into more detail with that. So I've discussed, freedom and independence super high for me. There's people who have a very low need for independence. I have traveled as a single mom and lived in New York City, Fort Lauderdale, and my Maui, actually. Not Miami, Maui. I like Fort Lauderdale way better than Miami. And if you've ever been to both of those places, you'll see Miami to me is very cosmopolitan, but also almost uptight so. And Fort Lauderdale is like kind of Jimmy Buffett with the flip-flops and the cutoffs and just really chill, where you're just laying in a hammock on the beach anywhere you go. And that definitely fulfills that need for me. And you can see, just seeing a beautiful open landscape and just putting your hands behind your head and just relaxing. I don't have a high need to acquire material objects, but I love to travel and go out and see things and go places in a very free manner, not taking a lot of luggage with me. And I don't need to buy a lot of souvenirs when I go. At the most, I might buy a refrigerator magnet. But I like the memories that I take. And luckily, my daughter's a photographer, so she'll take pictures because I don't take a lot of pictures. So what does freedom and independence look like to you? Again, you can have a very high need for freedom and independence just like I do. But when you describe what freedom and independence looks like to you, it could be completely different. You have no need to travel or move from city to city like I did when I was in my 20s and early 30s. But you definitely do have the need for freedom from a homeowners association. I know people who will never live in a community that has a homeowners association. Or you want to live out in the country, you want less government control, more freedom and independence from family and friends. What does that look like for you? What is that specifically? And also, what does freedom and independence look like to them? You know, you'll see a lot of this stuff. Oh, when I was a kid, the street lights told me to come home. And okay, so that's not really what you're seeing now anymore. But what does freedom and independence look like to the children that you're trying to have a connection with and you're trying to improve their behavior? A phenomenon that I'm seeing is when I was 16, everybody I knew got their driver's license, like immediately. It was the anomaly for someone who didn't have their driver's license, like right when they turned 16. That was a big deal. I'm 40 years old, and at that point, having a car, or at least being able to drive a car and get permission to take the car out, was a huge source of freedom and independence for a 16-year-old or a teenager. We weren't allowed to leave like our little town, but we would drive around it and try and get lost, and we were never successful. We'd always find our way back. However, that was freedom and independence for us. And definitely if you were dating somebody, you had some freedom and independence to do a little bit more than, other places. But you're seeing in the generation now, there's 16-year-olds, it's not this immediate thing that they need to get their driver's license. And that is becoming more common. They eventually get it, when they're 18 or they're going off to college, or, oh, you know what, I do need a car to go off to college or go to my job or what have you. However, it's varying and it's changing, and I'm not saying anything's right or wrong. I'm just noting that there is a change. And so that's something that's interesting that you can kind of look at and see that, what is it that your children are wanting for their freedom and their independence? Is it a cell phone? Is it internet access without parental controls? What does that look like?